next one that we're gonna do in my third box is going to be called Wet on Wet. And what that means is I'm going to be painting wet paint, so watercolors, onto wet paper. As you can see right now, my paper is dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my big flat brush, I'm going to get some water on it, and I'm going to just paint just plain old water on my paper. So there shouldn't be any color that I'm adding on. I'm just painting water. If you can, I don't know if you can see, but the paper is a little bit shinier. So that's nice and wet now. I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna take the same brush that I was using to make my spirals in the wet on dry, just so that you can see what the difference looks like. And I'll use the same paint, okay? So I'm going in, my paper is wet, my paint is watery, and I'm gonna paint a spiral. If you look at what is happening, you can see that my paint is starting to spread out. So when you paint watercolors onto a wet paper, you don't get those same kind of fine lines. Some people like this, some people don't. So if you want it to look like this, then this is one way of getting it to do that. If you don't want it to feather out and be kind of blurry, then be really careful and make sure that wherever you are putting paint, it is already dry. So this may mean that you need to wait for your paints to dry before adding something on top. My paper is even getting a little bit dry, so I'm gonna add a little bit more water just to show you how it kind of looks different. And I'm gonna go back in and I'll show you again with the green. I'm gonna come over here. You're gonna see, and I'll show you what happens. So this purpley pink is still pretty wet. So I'm gonna come over here with my green, and I got close to it, and you can see that where those colors met, that means all of a sudden, I don't know if you can actually see it, I'll hold it up. The colors are starting to blend. There we go. So if you get your wet paint near another wet paint on your paper, ooh, that didn't make sense. So if you paint something and it is near an area that's already a little bit wet, those colors may start to blend. It makes some really interesting effects, but you need to be careful that that's exactly what you want, okay? I'm gonna just add a couple more spirals to my paper to kind of show you again what's going on with this, but I think I need to wet it over here. So, same paints, but a different technique got me different effects for this, okay. Depending how much water you have, you'll also have more of a spread of your paint. You can see that when I'm painting it on too, the colors are a little bit lighter because all of the pigments, so that's the color in the paint, is spreading around.